Hello everybody, welcome to my draft review for the OGDL, the Roaring Moon Division. I've decided to record content for this because it's different. Stick my foot back in the door there. CBL and IPL have been kind of not on my radar to record lately. I've decided to branch out to other leagues again, and what better way than the the league run by one of the draft league YouTubers that I like watching most, OGL. So yeah, we're gonna jump right in. I had, I believe, the 8th overall pick, and so yeah, just smack dab in the middle of everything. About 16 coaches, so I figured I wouldn't really get what I wanted, and what I wanted was either Dragapult or Latios, because Latios got that Luster Purge shit going on, but I was actually pretty happy with what I ended up with. I actually was very surprised this made it to me because the Mon itself was kind of underpriced for with the Terra rules going on. Basically you get Omni Terra with your Pokemon, but we're playing with Terra Preview, so I'll be able to Terra into whatever type I want, but they'll be able to see, my opponent will be able to see what type I am tearing it into. Which, I'm still not a fan of Omniterra. I think it's too restrictive in the builder phase, but I'm perfectly okay with what I ended up with first, being Annihilate. This is a 16-point Mon, taxed by 4 points to become 20 points because I decided to make this my Terra Captain immediately right off the bat. I don't know if it's really in my wheelhouse, this Pokemon. I'm not usually good with like these bulky setup high tier Mons that have like the 4 move slot thing. I usually prefer like lower tier setup threats, upper tier breakers, but I decided to give this thing another an attempt at using this thing. I've drafted it twice, both times I did really bad with it, but yeah. Being able to tear into whatever type I want allows for a lot of freedom. This thing has a lot of good coverage that I think people often forget about. It's got stuff like Earthquake, Stone Edge, Gunk Shot, strong moves along those lines, elemental punches, stuff like that, that make it more able to use other Terra types to great effectiveness. And let's not forget the good defensive typings. Terra goes with Rage Fist on its own, it's just ridiculous. But yeah, it can just kind of do whatever. Like I said, amazing synergy with Terra, great stats all around. Just they figured out how to actually properly distribute stats with this Pokemon. I love how fat this thing is, how it's a good switch into a lot of things. It's got good immunities, and yeah, it's got the Marshadow Dual Stab, which is pretty nice, and Rage Fist is one of the most broken moves in the bloody game, so really, really happy to get Annihilate. Also really happy to get this Pokemon, which I was very shocked made it back to me, Palafin. What went in between this and Annihilate, or yeah, my Annihilate pick were Great Tusk, or sorry, it was like a lot of Mons that went, and I was very surprised Palafin wasn't one of them. Great Tusk made it to round 2, so there were a lot of crazy things that happened this draft. I'm going up to me. First round was Darkrai getting picked first overall, which I think you're crazy. Deoxys, Speed Gouging, Fire, Iron Boulder, Dragapult, Mega Diancie, and Latios. So, good options, great stuff. And there were Mons that I was considering picking, obviously, before Annihilate. I was actually really looking at Terra Regieleki, but didn't end up doing that. And then Palafin making it back to me. This was something I was considering picking up, but I had just picked it in IPL, which I'll probably end up doing a draft analysis for as well. But I figured, I'm not going to use it in 2 leagues as a first pick. I'll just get Annihilate instead, as soon as I saw that that was 16 points. And, yeah, I think these two have pretty good synergy together. They definitely are very, very overwhelming on the physical side because, I mean, they're both very strong. They're both setup threats. Bulk Up Palafin, I think, is better than Bandit a lot of the time, but obviously CB is just, like, one of the most overwhelming things to build for, and I think I've got a decent amount of momentum throughout my draft where the 0-to-hero situation is not going to be that bad. Yeah, Palafin's just a really, really good Mon. This is a higher tier of competition, so I think people might be able to handle this a little better, and I'm not exactly the best Palafin pilot, but I think I can give this Mon a good run-through that it deserves. In my opinion, a bannable Pokemon, but here it is, round 2 on my team. round 3, I wanted to get good hazard support for Annihilate and Palafin. They both love reliable spikes, and Ting Lu is one of the most reliable spikers in the game. Add on the fact that I'm taking Rock's pressure off Annihilate, so I probably will never need to run it on it ever. With this and another Stealth Rocker I picked up later on. And you got yourself a good set. This thing is fat as fuck. It never dies to anything, ever. Like, a +2 Mawile probably won't kill this thing. Mega Mawile, that's not true. But, yeah, great coverage, too. I mean, it's pretty strong if you invest in its attack with its natural bulk. And it's got Earthquake, Stone Edge, fucking Throat Chop. Like, Ground Dark are 2 really good offensive typings, like Crocodile. See that thing? That's a really strong offensive threat. Ting Lu is Crocodile on crack, so, you know, it's really slow, which is, you know, kind of unfortunate, but, I mean, it's got to be bad somewhere, right? So, I think this mon is really reliable. It's a big momentum sink, but it's not passive enough to where, you know, it can get set up on by a lot of stuff, because stuff like Whirlwind and Ruination, it's got Taunt, it's got other support moves besides that. Memento's a nice one, too. Is the other one I was thinking of. And obviously Rocks plus Spikes are just ridiculous. This mon can just set up 3 layers of Spikes just while something tries desperately to kill it. So I think this was a great pickup and a really nice mon. Up next, Aurora Veil with Annihilate sounded really good. You can't defog on an Annihilate, contrary to popular belief. And it's immune to Brick Break unless I Terra it. And I can block Psychic Fangs with Terra Dark. That was another strategy I had in mind, actually. For people trying to Psychic Fangs their way through on my Veil, boom, bulk up in front of that, and then immediately +1 Annihilate, and just kind of start bopping people in the head. So Veil plus Pass, that was the main reason I picked this thing. That's the main reason you pick this thing in general, although obviously it's a pretty good support mon with stuff like Heal Bell, and moves like Baton Pass and Roar and Encore. It getting Toxic is really nice, because this is NetDeck's Legacy also, so that's good. So he's got OG Albino drafted an Omni Terra King Gambit that can use Pursuit Knockoff, which I think is really cool. Yeah, this overall I think was a pretty solid pickup with this team. I could definitely bring a lot of setup threats with just these 3 Pokemon and Ninetales itself. So, next I pick another sleeper setup threat, which is Ferrothorn. SD Ferrothorn, watch the fuck out. But also, I mean, it's just Ting Lu with a different coat of paint. Ting Lu before Ting Lu even existed. This thing lives the most ridiculous hits. Cuts the greatest. Hangs out with the buffest dudes, the hottest dudes. Eats the freshest food. And yeah, just don't fuck with them. I don't really need to explain much with this. It's a good water resist. It's something that I really needed was a good water resist. I'm still looking pretty weak to Scald. This is still definitely a good mon for me to have picked up. So yeah, it spreads status, sets up the hazards too for my hazard appreciators, and is just an overall really annoying mon for people to prep for. So overall, I think I'm going with a pretty bulky offensive build, although it's definitely way more bulky than offensive with these first 5. And that is not helped by the next pick, Moltres. I really wanted Rotom Heat with this pick. I feel like Rotom Heat would have fit this team absolutely perfectly, but it was between picking Rotom Heat next and Ferrothorn, and to be honest, I probably should have picked Rotom Heat instead. But Moltres is a nice, solid addition. I believe it is 12 points like Rotom Heat, if I'm not mistaken. Rotom Heat was 11, Jesus. So yeah, Rotom Heat would have been really good here. It would have helped with the water break. It would have helped me break the waters and stuff, but this mon is really strong and really fat. It's another remover. That's another reason I wanted Rotom Heat, just because I have like no removal at all. And the rest of my draft doesn't really have it either, to be honest. But yeah, very strong special attacker. Pretty solid defensive typing. It's a good fairy check, so that's nice. It pairs really well with Ting Lu, actually, as well as Ferrothorn. So I'm a big fan of Moltres, defensively and offensively. It's got good sets, it's got good stabs, it's got good coverage, spreads status really well, and is honestly a really reliable defogger. So definitely a solid addition, and I'm glad I picked it up. It's really nice that it got defog back. Up next we got Zam. I really needed something with a pretty high speed tier, because I really needed that at this point. Fastest thing being Ninetales is not recommended. did not like being outsped by every base 110 in the game, so went with Zam. Zam was $12. I feel like that was a little, I think that's probably the perfect price, maybe a little underpriced. Either way, it's a good breaker, and the Sash Magic Guard set is nice. Being able to potentially even set up nasty plots because of the Veil support is good. And yeah, Zam is just in and of itself a very, very, very solid team member, and I'm happy he's here. Good special breaker, good special everything. And I really, really wanted a special breaker at this point. Moltres was definitely one good one, but I had two pretty solid physical breakers, and I wanted another pretty solid special breaker. And I kept that train going with my next pick, which I'm on the fence about this being on my team and keeping it. But right now I've got Toxtricity. I wanted a T-Spike option. They were all pretty bad that were left. Well, not pretty bad, but there was one in particular that I was looking at that I forgot what it was. I would have to go digging for it. T-Spikes. What was it? It was something that got sniped. I can say that much for sure. It's Tentacruel. Yeah, I was actually really looking at Tentacruel with this slot because it got flip turn and the speed tier was good, and I wanted to be a Gen 1er because I had Primeape, new Primeape, I had Moltres, I had Alakazam, I got Tentacruel, but Toxtricity is good, plus the spin would have been nice, but Toxtricity, like I said, very solid special breaker. I can shift gear up with the Veil up, and then suddenly Throat Spray, Boom Burst, and then like your whole team will die. It's a very, very strong mon. It's a good Scarfer. 75 speed's not the best, but I think this thing can still do some gooping. So I'm happy to have it on my team for now. We'll see if I feel that way in a week or two. So yeah, just a nice electric poison, you know, soaks up the T-Spikes, and Punk Rock is a pretty solid ability. Next we've got Minior. So I had about 8 points left. Minior was 4 points, and I'm not exactly sure why, because it's actually like one of the best Shell Smashers. In low tier, I feel like 7 or 8 points for this would have been reasonable, but 4 points, I'll definitely scoop that up with my Veil team. It's another rocker, it's got U-turn, like it's got momentum and some defensive utility when it's in the shield up form. So, Meteor, that's what it's called. So yeah, but when you Shell Smash with this thing and it gets down to below half, suddenly your opponent is fucked. And I believe it got Meteor Beam. Maybe not. It never was in the game long enough to get Meteor Beam. I actually was considering it. Well, I instantly made Annihilate my Terra Captain, but I was maybe considering dropping Annihilate and making this my Terramon instead. That probably would have been too crazy, but yeah, I went ahead and just grabbed this motherfucker for 4 points. I think that's amazing. So 4 points left. I decided to get more hazard removal, and I was looking kind of Ghost Weak, so I decided to get Komala for 2 points. It's a pretty decent spinner for low tier, and it's another physical breaker that's pretty nice. It's definitely a pretty solid Ghost Immunity and a Status Sponge. And then I was looking at originally getting, it was not Meowstick. It was, no, I think it was Meowstick. And something else. Whoa, where am I going? There it is. It was definitely Prankster Screens on something, but I ended up getting Morgrim. Prankster Screens was something that I was really, really wanting with my last 2 picks. It was Sableye. Yeah. I was looking at getting Sableye and Minior together, but I saw that I kind of wanted a good normal type, like, you know, good as in like, you know, solid for being a 2-point mon, and Wallow fit the bill, and I decided to just fill up the last 11th slot that I could fill up with Morgrim, because you can't have too many dark types except for when you can, and yeah, being able to actually get screens is, like, a second form of screens is nice. Although Zam does have screens, so that's like 3. And this thing learns them too, surprisingly enough. So when it's in its Meteor form, I can just run like a Screens U-Turn Rock set, and that could be good too. Or Explosion, I actually didn't know it learned Boom. But yeah, with Parting Shot, Priority Parting Shot, and like Priority T-Wave, this thing is definitely usable. I'll say that much, definitely. So go through it again. I've got Annihilate with Omniterra, Palafin, Tinglu, Ninetales, Alola, Ferrothorn, Moltres, Alakazam, Toxtricity, Minior, Kamala and Morgrim. So I look forward to the week 1 game, which I will be playing against Sage Mode AD, and I'll see you all then. Later.